You are listening to In Conversation with Jennie and Mark.
Hello and welcome. My name is Jenny. I am the priest in charge at Holy Trinity, South Kensington.
My name is Mark and I am the vicar of St Margaret's Church, Barking. And this is In Conversation with Jennie and Mark, where we take under 20 minutes to look at next week's Bible reading. So Jenny, what's going on this week or next week?
Next week, well, we start this Sunday with Palm Sunday. We have got Holy Week. I have to say Holy Week is quite light at South Kensington. Most people have gone away for Easter by the time it hits. But we still have our services. We're still doing Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Sunday.
Well, I'm very
but I
pleased
have been in other places that are much harder work, to be honest.
You do have that amazing rear doors at the back of, behind the altar, at the back, at the front, behind the altar of Holy Trinity, which closes on Good Friday, doesn't it? Which is
Maundy Thursday. We close it on Maundy Thursday.
Okay.
Part of the service, yes, and then stays it closed right until I arrive on Easter Sunday.
So if you want to check that out, Holy Trinity is the place to be. But before we get to that, we have Palm Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So Jenny, choice of readings for Palm Sunday. Yeah, what are you doing? And do you want to just say a little bit more about why that happens?
So what I have always done really is I always read the whole of the Passion narrative instead of doing a sermon for Palm Sunday. And I do it for a variety of reasons. But the main one is I know so many people that jump from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday and don't journey Holy Week. And they never actually get to hear the whole reading. They never actually get to hear the whole story. So if you do journey Holy Week, you hear it over and over and over again with me, because we read it on Maundy Thursday and then again on Good Friday. But that's what I tend to do. This year we are going to do the dramatic reading, which is not one of my favourite things, but it is a favourite thing of the congregation. So it's not all about me.
Yeah, I think that's true. I you can go from Palm Sunday and the triumphal entry, and then if you don't then engage with it again until Easter Sunday, it's like, oh, and he's risen, and you have missed out some really probably quite key bits of the story along the way, haven't you? I also think set the Holy Week, even if people ask, and obviously some people will engage with it. At St Margaret's last year, I seem to recall, we did do the Palm Sunday reading, which is actually what we are going to look at tonight, isn't it? But I'm going to do the Passion reading this Sunday. The reason, the difference is that last year I think was an all-age service, and it's probably a bit much doing the whole Passion reading at all age. This week we've got our children's groups running, so I'm thinking, yeah, let's do the Passion reading, because I love doing it as well. There's something really amazing about doing that really long extended reading. Do you let people sit down during it? That's always the sort of thing I feel like. Do you make them stand?
Yes, because I do it instead of a sermon. So yes.
Yeah.
So
I
have two other readings, and then I let them sit down because it's the sermon slot for it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might give people the choice. It just seemed quite a long. Anyway, so that's what we're doing on Sunday. But we thought it would be good, rather than just reading the whole Passion reading tonight, which would probably take most of our 20 minutes together. We thought it would be good to have a reading. So Liturgy of the Palms, that's the other choice that we have in front of us for this Sunday. So I'll put it up on the screen.
Okay.
And Jenny is going to read that for us.
So where are we starting? Verse 28.
Yeah.
After he had said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. When he had come near Bethpage in Bethany, at the place called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of the disciples, saying, "Go into the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find tied there a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' just say this, 'The Lord needs it.'" So those who were sent departed and found it as he had told them. As they were untying the colt, its owners asked them, "Why are you untying the colt?" And they said, "The Lord needs it." Then they brought it to Jesus, and after throwing their cloaks on the colt, they set Jesus on it. As he rode along, people kept spreading their cloaks on the road. As he was now approaching the path down from the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to praise God joyfully with a loud voice for all the deeds of power that they had seen. They were saying, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest heaven." Some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, order your disciples to stop." And he answered, "I tell you, if these were silent, the stones would shout out."
Brilliant. So I think this is well, of course, it's a fascinating passage, but for me, this is a passage that is full of tensions because it feels like this should be the main focus of the story, shouldn't it? You know, of the whole gospel story. This is the moment where Jesus is coming in triumph into Jerusalem. And yet, of course, it's only really the beginning of the really interesting bit, isn't it? So what do
There
you
is a
make of
sense
it?
of excitement, a real sense of excitement. It's still up on my screen. Are you meant to be sharing it?
Oh, sorry. Let me get rid of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's better. I can see you. Yeah, it really does build up the excitement, and yet there are some very strange bits in it, aren't there? The cult. Let's just go
Yeah.
straight to the
Okay, let's go
cult.
for the cult.
The
What are
cult
you thinking about the cult?
the cult that they seem to have stolen to order.
So do you think
Borrowed.
it's pre-arranged? Is it a pre-arranged? Has this up before? I mean, we know he goes to
No,
Bethany.
I don't
He's got
think
friends
so.
there.
I don't
You
think.
think it's
I think he
sort of
might have known that it was going to be there. I think it might be a cult that had been there before, but I don't think it was pre-arranged with the owners.
okay? Listen, he's seen this. You don't think he set it up? This password that he's given his disciples to go and get.
No, I never thought so. I just assumed that the owners had kind of heard the commotion and the joy and just kind of went,
Okay.
"Oh, okay."
Well,
They
I
knew
mean, we don't
something great was happening.
know, do we? I mean, it certainly suggests a degree of forward planning on Jesus's part. He means to do this, whether it's a sort of supernatural insight or a, you know,
Yeah.
that
I mean,
they've kind of
yeah, how he knew the cult was going to be
set it up
there, I don't
beforehand,
know.
or
But I had always read it as the owner was part of it, really. Everyone was joyous and it was excited and was
yeah,
coming into Jerusalem. This is the new king. He's going to show them.
yeah. So yeah, and as you say, it's very a kind of
Mhm.
it's very much premeditated, though, isn't it? Jesus intends to do it. He knows what he's doing in this
Yes.
passage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I
It
mean,
is,
he's
of
always known
course.
what he's doing, but of course we know that he's been heading this way since Caesarea Philippi, hasn't he? So he's always known what
That's
he's doing.
right. We've been on a long
Mm,
journey, really, haven't we? The journey
mm.
to Jerusalem, which I seem to remember ages ago we talked about in one of these previous podcasts. But so it's a fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy. It's a fulfillment of Zechariah 9, which describes the Messiah entering Jerusalem on a donkey. What about the symbolism of the donkey? What do you think is going on there? Again, I think this is one of those tensions where you've got, on the one hand, I kind of like the idea that Jesus is riding on a donkey and not a war horse. So there's that idea of coming in as a servant king, not as a conquering hero. And yet, it's also a deliberate use of prophecy and symbolism from the Old Testament. So he is making a messianic claim, even if he's coming on a donkey and not a war horse. So I think for me, there's a tension in that for me. What do you think about it?
Okay, I like the fact that the donkey exists because I know that in the Christmas story it upsets you that it doesn't. Get your donkeys out, everyone. This is a real life one. Yeah, I feel it's very normal, isn't it? People would ride donkeys, particularly up and down the path. Here again, I know the geography because I've seen the
Yeah, yeah.
path towards
Tell us a
Jerusalem.
little bit about the geography then.
And it's very steep and it's
Right.
cobbly. And those
Yeah.
cobbles now are very slippy. That's what I can tell you. Anyone who's off on pilgrimage, wear sensible shoes. Um, so I also thought when I walked down it that that's really uncomfortable to be on a donkey walking at this kind of down. Just pointing out. But there is something that it is normal life. Donkeys would take you up and down really steep terrain.
Mm.
Um,
As we know from going to Santorini, although we didn't ride up on a donkey up the hill, did we, from there?
I have to say, similar thing. Similar,
Yeah.
that sort of terrain and that, and the steepness of it. It's not an easy ride.
So what you're saying is kind of almost a kind of day. It's an everyday occurrence in some ways, and yet this is much more than that, isn't it? This is a real proclamation of who Jesus is, and really sort of feels like it should be the climax of his ministry. I remember seeing. I mean, when I knew we were looking at the Palm Sunday reading, I was intrigued to see which one it was. I know in the other Gospels, I think it might be in Mark, it's a real sense of anticlimax. They get into the temple after this amazing triumphal entry, and then it just says, and then they went home.
Oh
Which we
yes,
don't get in this
that's
passage.
last year's.
Little bit sorry about, really, because I think you're right. I think that was last year's, but but actually there is an element of that here as well, isn't there? Because this is supposed to be the great moment of triumph, and yet the great moment of triumph is actually later on in the week. It's not going to be on Sunday. It's going to be on Friday.
We've not quite got that. Yeah, absolutely. Just mentioned about the stones, the Pharisees and the crowd.
Yeah.
Jesus. So on the way down from the Mount of Olives to the gates of Jerusalem, you pass by a cemetery.
Okay.
A Jewish cemetery. And people, I mean, obviously they're not green cemeteries like you have in England. It's a very dry stone. But when you go and visit your relatives in the cemetery, you put a stone on top of the on top of the grave. The graves are all built up out of stone as well, but you put a little stone each time you go and visit. And there is a thought that that's the stones he was talking about, the cemetery stones. Even the dead will
is there a thought?
out.
Is that people think that cemetery would have been there then? It's really that old. Okay.
Yeah, they're fairly sure it would. It's a little bit like I think in Manila they remove people and then reuse the graves.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think it's of course it is a sort of climax to this reading, isn't it? That Jesus is. It is a great sort of saying that he comes. I tell you, if these were silent, the stones would shout out. This, I guess it's this sense that Jesus is saying to the Pharisees, you really have no idea what is going on here. You're not seeing it. They're worried about the Roman governors, aren't they, coming down and cracking down on a messianic display. They don't want to be getting into trouble, especially at this time at Passover time of year. But Jesus is really, it seems to me, say, you have no idea who I am, and you have no idea what's going on. And
that is true. So my question for you, because I never preach on it,
okay,
and you obviously have, what do you do with it? What is your message that you would go for?
Well, I think there is something about the symbolism of the donkey or the colt. I'm not sure. So there is something about the symbolism of that as opposed to being on a war horse. And yet there is a tension there with that actually Jesus is also making a very specific claim. So because he's pulling on that Zechariah prophecy that that he is the Messiah, the one who is coming. So he's saying something about who the Messiah is. He's saying something about what it means to truly be the Messiah. I think that the whole thing is the tension of what's coming. You can't preach in it in isolation. It should be the great triumph, but actually the great triumph, in fact, is going to come later and not in the way that anyone expects. And even we expect, really, in a lot of ways. Although we're used to the story. And I think the last bit, I really like this idea of the stones crying out that there's that sense of we voice creation's praise. I've always liked that idea. It's not an original one to me. But that actually that the disciples are voicing creation's praise. But if they weren't doing it, then creation itself would be crying out in praise. So, but it all happens under the shadow of what's to come, doesn't it? That's really that's why we worship because of what Jesus has done for us and what he's about to do at this point.
So you would use your sermon to set the scene, so to speak, rather than have almost a message takeaway that day, but more of a setting the scene of who's coming.
Surely it is a setting the scene kind of passage, is it? You can't take this passage out of context of what is about to come, because that's what gives it its meaning, isn't it?
Well, I'm not criticizing. I was just clarifying, really, that's what you would do with it. As I say, I've
I'm
never
just
really
sort of thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I think that's what gives it its meaning. So, what would you do with it if you were preaching on it?
I would really struggle. Because it is the precursor to what's to come.
Okay.
I would struggle to preach. I could teach. I could talk about all the things I've just spoken, but to actually get a meaning for today, as I say, I find that really difficult.
There's an invitation as well, isn't it? Are we going to continue? I mean, I think it's an interesting challenge to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning, about are people just going to come on Palm Sunday and then they're going to come again on Easter Sunday and go, oh, look, he's alive again. Because the real challenge for us, I think, is in Holy Week and throughout our lives, are we going to walk this journey with Jesus? I think that's the challenge I may even make to people this Sunday, actually. Are we going to walk this journey with him? And even though we've read the liturgy of Passion, even on Sunday, that's the challenge, I think, isn't it? And in one sense, walking that journey with him through Holy Week is a microcosm of, are we going to walk this journey with him through all our lives? Because Jesus is not at the end point of his journey here.
That's a really good idea. If you're preaching on it and you know that people are just going to come on Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday, almost a suggestion of them reading bits at home, or watching bits at home. The Chosen's back on, isn't it? You could watch it, so that they do, challenge them to at least
find a way to walk with Jesus through Holy Week. Obviously, you can come and engage with your local church if you're doing that, or you can find other ways to do it. There are lots of films, as you say, aren't there, that dramatise this, from the Miracle Maker through to Jesus of Nazareth to all sorts of.
That would be a good way to deal with it, really, to preach from it. That and waving some palm leaves around.
And you'll be having palm crosses, I assume, at your church on Sunday?
I have bought the palm crosses.
You've bought the palm crosses? What do you do with your palm cross once you have it? I'm not going to ask me now, and I don't know what I do with mine, really, but do you do anything particular with it?
No, they just hang around.
Well, maybe we could at least make them hang around for Holy Week, even if they don't hang around forever after
they
that.
hang around on my desk, and they just hang around.
Okay.
I feel I should be more holy with it, but really, it just gets in the way. I spend a lot of time moving it.
Well, maybe that's something we could look at doing this week, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do something, whatever that means. I don't think you have to keep them forever, otherwise I'd have 58 years worth of palm crosses stacked.
You're supposed to burn them the following year to make you Ash Wednesday ash.
But not everybody does that, do they? Not everyone's supposed to do that.
I think good vicars do. They don't just buy it like we do.
Well, there we go. That's pretty much our time up, Jenny, would you believe? So we want to thank you all for listening. And we do wish you a very good Palm Sunday and a blessed Holy Week. And we will be back again next week with some reflections for Easter, won't we?
We will indeed.
We will. So
I hope the Holy Week goes really well, folks.
So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye all.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation with Jennie and Mark. Please subscribe for more episodes on all the usual podcast platforms.